And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, I'm going to be talking about the same division that I was talking about in the last segment. So the same teams I'm going to go over. But this time, I'm going to be talking about what I think their win-loss record is going to be going into the next season. So let's go ahead and start off with the Dallas Mavericks again. So, like I said before, it's the same team, so I might as well go ahead in the same order. If you want more details about this team and like what they did last season, you can go ahead and if you're on the audio side, you can go back to the last segment, or if you're on the video side, you could, if you're watching this from the live stream, you can just rewind over to that second segment, or you can, if you're watching this from the, like just on a video, then you can go back to, like you can go scroll to the basketball playlist, the GSMC Basketball Podcast playlist, and then you can find the Southwestern Division, like opinions that I have of the team and where they were last season and what I think they're going to do this coming season. But aside from that, the Mavericks, I think they're going to finish this season with a record of 51 and 31. I have my notes up here with like all the records that to all these teams that I think, like, so, like, let me just go ahead and pull that up real quick. Just give me 1 second. So I also have an article pulled up as well, like, that has a couple of stats. But yeah, so I think the Mavericks last season, they went 50 and 32. But I think for this season, they're going to win one extra game and they're going to go 51 and 31. And like they came off of a very unexpected trip to the finals. So I think they're like they're going to feel pretty confident about their spot in the NBA right now for this season. Not to mention the fact that they acquired Klay Thompson for the regular season. I think that they'll be able to still be like Kyrie and Luka. I think they'll still be proven to be a very dynamic force in the NBA. And I think they're going to be a problem against every single team like that they go up against. Like it doesn't matter who they go up against, they're going to be putting every single team on notice. And I think that's a pretty respectable record to give them. Let me know in the comments if you guys think that I'm being a little bit generous of these guys. If you guys think that I would, that they may be a little bit better than this record. Do you think they might be a little bit worse than this record? Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments, but let me just go ahead and pull up the next team. So the Pelicans, now this was a little bit of a weird team for me to do because, again, like I mentioned before, they do have a very interesting lineup with CJ, DeJounte, and having Zion and Brandon Ingram as well. But it's really it's like you have to sort of get this lineup to work, and figuring out how to get the lineup to work in the first year is going to be a lot to ask, especially in this incredibly top-heavy Western Conference, not to mention just how competitive their division is already. And, oh, wait a minute. So I just got a tweet from, Woes just tweeted something, so I'm just going to go ahead and go into a breaking news segment real quick. So just give me 1 second. All right, so TJ McConnell for the Pacers ended up signing a 4-year, $45 million contract extension with the Pacers. And I guess that's a decent amount of money. Obviously, that's not like a hefty amount of dollars like we've seen recently with Steph Curry signing Curry signing that extension with the Warriors, but I mean that's still a decent amount of money for a decent player. Just wanted to let everyone know and let everyone stay a little updated in the entire on the entire situation. So aside from that, let's continue on with this third segment. So we left off with the Pelicans. Again, I said they were a weird team. They do have a very good talent on paper, but out off the paper and on the court is a very different story. We see this with the Clippers. We see this with the what other teams do we see this with? I can't even say we see this with the Celtics now because, they recently won. But we see this with the 76ers, and we see this with so many other teams. I mean, I could go by NFL, for example. We see this with the Cowboys, and it's they have great players and great stats on paper, but it's when it matters most and when they perform, it's just not it. And I think the Pelicans team, despite the talent that I mentioned and despite the fact that I do want Zion to succeed in this league, I don't think they're going to really be that well in this conference. That well. Again, I think they're going to be decent. I think they're going to be 46-36 in this regular season as opposed to the previous regular season where they went hold on just 1 second. I believe the Pelicans in the previous season they went 49-33. Yeah, they did. So 46-36. I think they're going to end up being a little bit worse than they were this last year, mainly because of the new chemistry adjustments, as well as just the fact that the Western Conference is getting a little bit more competitive. Now, they spent much of the summer trying to move Brandon Ingram, but presumably for a starting caliber center. But with Valanciunas and Larry Nance Jr. gone, they don't really have a reliable center for this team, which is one of the biggest discomforting things about this team, and one of the biggest reasons why I'm not entirely confident about this team really playing that well. But now they do have an all-star point guard in DeJounte, so that's something. But again, not having a center is a pretty big deal. But that's my opinion on this team. So again, 46-36. Let me know what you guys think. Next team on this list is the Houston Rockets. Now, I mentioned before they were one of those teams where it's they have a lot of young players, and it really depends on how some of these young players like Sengun perform, and it also depends on how well the players around Sengun, like Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, are able to perform, and if they're able to be successful in this top-heavy Western Conference. Not to mention the acquisition of Shepherd in the draft, and it's acquiring Reed Shepherd in the draft. He's in the conversations of being in the Rookie of the Year already, and the NBA season hasn't even started. So it's he's really proving to be a very talented player in the NBA. And you sort of need that when you have a really young team full of all of these young players. If you have somebody that has if you have a rookie, I guess you could say, that is already being touted as a great player, then, if he progresses quickly, then there's a chance that your team could be even more decent than what they were in the previous season. And it's not like they were all that bad last season. They were I know they were they were third place in this draft, but they were 41-41 in the in this previous season. So it's not like they were that bad in the last season with the young pieces that they have. They were just neutral, you know? And excuse me. But they're bringing back Sengun, Jabari Smith Jr., Jalen Green, Amon Thompson, and Cam Whitmore. So they do have, like, the young core that they have, it's not really, like, all that impressive. Like, it's not a young core that makes you want to go wow, but it's like, it's pretty solid. And I think with acquiring the players that they recently got, I think they're pretty solid. Now, the next team that I would like to mention is the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the Grizzlies they're a team that suffered from injury in the previous season. They didn't really have Ja Morant for as long as they would have liked in the last season, and because of that, their win-loss record had to suffer because of that. Now, they ended up going 27-55 in the last season, but I think with the acquisition of Ja, I think they're able to win roughly 50 games, maybe go 49-33, I would say. Like, I think that's a pretty decent margin of victory, like a win-loss record for them. They went 51-31 in 2023 and finished second in the Western Conference. Now, they ended up losing to the Lakers, which was unfortunate for the Memphis Grizzlies. But, when they have Ja Morant and when they have a really confident squad, the team knows how to get it done. So I feel like that's really important. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to start winning again when they end up getting Ja Morant back on the roster. And now the final team on this list is the San Antonio Spurs. Now, I don't think they're going to improve all that much from last season. But again, like, by improve that much, I mean, like, be a playoff team, because they can definitely improve there's definitely like going to be improvement from last season, because of the fact that in last season they were one of the worst teams in the entire NBA. They ended up only winning 22 games last season, and it was the same record as when they didn't have Wemby in 2023. But I think for this season, they're going to end up going 33-49 as opposed to going 22-60. And Victor Wembanyama he's a legit All-NBA talent, and he has a legitimate All-NBA first-team case for this season. And if they can generate a really nice roster around Victor, they can be a very solid team. Now, that's just a prediction. They could be even better than the record that I just said, or they could be even worse. That's entirely up to them, because, I got no control over that stuff. But, let me know in the comments what you think is in store for these teams. But aside from that, we're going to go ahead and go into the fourth segment, where I talk about some basketball news, primarily talking about Tyronn Lue and his anticipations for the Clippers for next season. So I'll be right back after this short break.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.